Yeah. So really, Flannery O'Connor is one of those important, really writers. And let me see, I think should be small, capital T, not small c. Yeah, I don't know how. Yeah. So the writer is a very well-known American writer. And she's really an amazing figure. And she is,
Doctor?
as you can see, writer. And
Doctor?
the story here is yeah.
Could you please stop
Yes.
sharing because we cannot hear you. We cannot hear you. Yeah, so I think it's better to stop sharing.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, okay. Can you hear me now? Basmala?
Yes.
Yes, Doctor.
What a funny business. What a funny world. We are really amazing. Anyway, well, technology. Well, thank God we have this at least. Yeah, I really think we should be very thankful. Okay, so the story I was saying really here is an amazing story in all kinds of ways. It can be interpreted in different schools of criticism, really, to do with a lot of what's this again? Sorry. Sometimes you can't stop this. The idea really here is, I'm trying to say that this story can be explained in so many ways, in racial interpretation or criticism, in a feminist perspective or criticism, really, if you like, as like even within a Marxist perspective, within all sorts of perspectives, really, you can see the story here about, even with the reader response, even with, as I say, the cultural elements, even within, you know, psychoanalytical, and I think this is mostly psychoanalytical story in this ways, because here we have a man or a family, really, a family consisting of, you know, man, his wife and kids, and his mother, and they are going in a journey to Florida, right? And they have an accident and they fall into a ditch, and then suddenly, you know, two men, as, or originally really as a runaway prisoner who's crazy, who is a white, terrible, ugly man who would behave in a very racist, absolutely racist, you know, way, and he kills them. Why he kills them? Of course, you know, this is the question. He kills all of them. I mean, why? They didn't do anything. And, you know, this is the idea. The story is, of course, as I say, it's explained in all perspectives and aspects and so on. So these tiny videos I sent you, they give more elaborations maybe, or some, you know, snapshots about the implications of this story. So really, the story has so many, really so many ideas, if you like. When I said, you know, we have so many questions about this journey going to, you know, just from one place to another. The father of this family, and who is the son of this woman, old woman, and you know the attitude of black African Americans. Again, the story here really is about that. The black African American really problem family who were just killed because, not just because they were black or they were originally not white, but there are so many other reasons, which is really crazy, you know. So this is the idea here, that this is a family which is really very easy, very simple. They are living in a very comfortable way, and you know, who were all shot dead by an escaped white prisoner who is crazy in every way, and he would not even spare anyone. I mean, you can say, what an ugly life is this? What an ugly thing, you know? I mean, no matter how much you try to understand his position or his reasons for killing this family, you know, it's impossible to understand. And the story really goes on and on and on to blame the mother, or the, you know, this mother or the grandmother, that she is the one who asked them to go into this journey or something. I think this is not really fair, because, you know, because they were going anyway, they were traveling, and, you know, they had this accident because, you know, of some, you know, if you like, unlucky move by you know, the kids in the car and so on. So really the idea is very weird and very ambiguous and very terrible. You know, that's when you think about it. When you think about it, really, when you say, you know, a good man is hard to find, well, yes, because as if to say, in this world now, there are no good men. It's very, very, very hard to find a good man. You know, this is the idea. To say, come on, are we lost here like hell? Or are we living in a forest? Are we living in a terrible, horrible, you know, forest? Come on, why? You know? So really here, if you like, you can say that the main character or the main characters of the story are, as you can see, the old grandmother and this terrible, crazy man. He calls himself Misfit. Misfit, meaning who cannot fit into society, who is ugly, who is a prisoner, and he claims that he has done nothing. And he said that they accuse him of killing his father. But I mean, at the end of the day, yes, we believe that he's a criminal because he killed all of these people. You see? So these two people here, they represent two different, if you like, sides of the story. And that's why we say, really, there are many, many questions about this story. I say, is it really true that a good man is hard to find in our modern society? You know, if I ask you this, you say, oh no, we have so many good men around. Alhamdulillah, we have, you know? Or is the title really here an obvious, you know, just obvious platitude or something, you just like that, a flat statement which means nothing? Or we say, is society then really dominated by killers or misfits? And, you know, you go on and on asking all these questions. How early in the story does O'Connor, for example, foreshadow that would happen to them? That is how they are going to be killed. What future or what further hints maybe we can have, you know, if you like, in a way that she gives in the story? and so on. So really we have a lot to answer here. But as I said, they are all embedded. They say, is the story really about the grandmother, or is the story about the misfit? And when we first meet the grandmother, what kind of woman is she? You know, and you know, what are the, if you like, the remarks that we can get about her? Again, is she a static or a moving or a developing a character or a changing character? And so on and so forth. Really, this story, as I say here, we have so many possible questions about that. What are the things that we learn from this story? Okay, and here, you know, if you like, really, this is the difficult interpretations, the various interpretations, and I think, in a way, this is the suitable thing about how literature is interpreted and is really understood. At the end, of course, you can say, well, this story really is about prejudice against Black community in America, as about prejudice against the Africans or African Americans. Or, you know, the story here really is this story about family relationship. You know, is it about any sense of family relationship, about religion, about Christianity, or whatever? Oh, come on. So the idea really here is quite amazing. You know, that how can we listen to all this in different ways? Okay. So I think this is really interesting to see all that, and the story, if you like, when you start reading it, you will find all these things. Now, step by step, we learn that the family here, the grandmother, really, maybe at the beginning, we see that she's a domineering woman, controlling her son and controlling his wife, controlling his life and the way she does. Notice here, the grandmother did not want to go to Florida. She wanted to visit some of her connections in East Tennessee, and she was seizing every chance to change Bailey's mind. Bailey was the son that she lived with, her only boy. You see, this is the idea, you know, the narrator starting to tell us how this family really, you know, all the members of this family live close to each other. Son, his family, wife, 2 children, and his mother. And the way his mother really is so close to him. He was sitting on the edge of his chair at the table, bent over the orange sports section of the journal. Now look here, Bailey, she said. See here, read this. And she stood with one hand on her thin hip and the other rattling the newspaper at his bald head. Here, this fellow that calls himself the misfit is loose from the federal pen and headed toward Florida. And you read here that it says he did these people, says he did to these people. Just you read it. You know, she wants to tell him, if you are traveling to Florida, you are going to meet this terrible, crazy man, this killer who may kill us. And, you know, it's funny that really she was running away to tell her son she is running away from this fate of being killed by this misfit. And that's why she wanted to visit another place instead of going to, you know, Florida. And that's why, you know, the narrator immediately said, the grandmother did not want to go to Florida. And that's why she thought that they saying to him that the misfit is on the way in Florida and he's going to, if he meets them, he's going to kill them all. You know, this is, of course, the indication later on. That's what's going to happen. And that's what, you know, she said. Bailey didn't look up from his reading, so she wheeled around then and faced the children's mother, a young woman in slacks Again, here the narrator uses the word children's mother, not being mentioned by name. Again, this is interesting, and here people may say, well, this is to do with disrespect, or maybe, this question of domination and control and all this carry on. The narrator uses the word here, just say the children's mother, and sometimes, I think we have words like that in Arabic. I don't know, we say al-Iyal or al-Banin, isn't it? Huh?
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, but is al-Iyal a bad thing to say?
I don't think so.
I think yes.
Oh, Basmala, come on. Basmala, you spoke, isn't it?
Yeah, I have a name. Why they call them like that?
Yeah,
She has a name.
Al-Iyal is a good, it's an endearment thing. It's really endearment, loving term to say al-Banin, ya al-Banin, ya al-Iyal. Means
Yes.
he, the man.
Totally fine, I think. It's totally
Sorry?
Yes.
Is what?
Sorry, mister.
I can't hear you because you said something I couldn't hear you.
Yes, I said that it's fine to call the woman Iyal or something like that. Yes.
Yeah, I think al-Iyal is a nice word. I think sometimes when I
Just
say
to
this to
show
my...
respect.
Yeah, when I say this to my wife, she really likes it and she smiles and she says, wow, I think it's a good thing. I don't know. So here, some people say, without mentioning her name here, to say as if, this is a demeaning thing. But I don't think so. This is my view. I don't know. But you see, the idea here, this old woman really, if you like, she controls everybody in the house, if you like, indirectly. And in this way, I agree with you, or I think, yeah, she's domineering and controlling things. Okay. So here they, as you can see, the narrator, notice again here, the handkerchief and had 2 points in the top like rabbit's ears. She was sitting on the sofa, feeding the baby his apricots out of a jar. The children have been to Florida before, the old lady said. You see, the old woman really did not want to go to Florida. She wanted to go to a place she likes. And I think this is the idea about the control. She's convincing everyone, her son and the wife indirectly, and the kids, you all ought to take them somewhere else for a change, so they would see different parts of the world and be broad. They never have been to East Tennessee. She is here I think many critics said she's the wicked old woman. She is the one who wants to go to East Tennessee because she wants to go and see maybe her relatives. And from that perspective, we say, she wanted people to act the way she wants. And that's in a way here about the control. The children's mother did not seem to hear her. Again here, notice the narrator saying the children's mother did not seem to hear her. But the 8-year-old boy, John Wesley, a stocky child with glasses, said, if you don't want to go to Florida, why don't you stay at home? This her grandson really gave her what maybe his mother wanted to say, and maybe his father wanted to say, really. When he said, if you don't want to go to Florida, then don't go, stay at home, we will go. He and the little girl, June Starr, were reading the funny papers on the floor. She wouldn't stay at home to be queen for a day, June Starr said without raising her yellow head. Now notice here, it's funny really, notice here the kids are criticizing their grandmother because she's controlling them. And notice how they are speaking about her. Notice she said, she wouldn't stay at home to be queen for a day. You know, as if to say, she will always be staying with us, dominating things, and she will be acting as the queen all the time, and we will be serving her all the time. Kids, father and mother, all of us will be serving her. And, you know, this is, if you like, the funny way. And here many critics said, well, this is impolite to say this to your granny. You know, if your grandmother said this, you should not say this to her face. And really here, the granny noticed, yes, and what would you do if this fellow, the misfit, caught you? You see, again, here she's warning them that maybe this misfit will meet them and will kill them. So she's really threatening and warning. And by chance, of course, as you know, by chance, that's what happens. Really, that's what happens. The misfit, notice, the grandmother asked, I'd smack his face, John Wesley said. Remember, these are kids, you know, young boy and his sister. They are very young, as you can see, 8-year-old boy, and even his younger sister, who is, you know, really very young. So he said, if he meets us, I'm going to slap him in the face, you know, smack his face. She wouldn't stay at home for $1 million, June Star said. Again, she is mocking her grandmother, saying she wouldn't stay at home on her own. She will be with us, even if you pay her $1 million. You know, bucks here really means dollars. And again, I think this is for exaggeration and for comedy, to say, you know, this old woman likes to control everything in the family. Notice. June Star said, afraid she would miss something. She has to go everywhere we go. Yeah, you know, kids sometimes are funny and they say things like that, you know, really true. Kids are funny and they believe. Sorry?
They say the truth.
Oh my God, yes. Yes, yes, they say the truth, because what these kids really are saying is exactly what I said, what their mother wants to say, really, and what their father also wants to say, but they can't say it to his mother. Kids, you know, they say what they believe, you know. All right, miss. And notice the grandmother said, all right, miss. The grandmother said, just remember that the next time you want me to curl your hair. Again, this is the threatening thing, you know, by the granny to her, you know, granddaughter. June Star said her hair was naturally curly. You see, this young girl, really, she's a smart one. You know, she's always, you know, responding in a really arrogant way, you know. The next morning, the grandmother was the first one in the car, ready to go. Wow. You see? She is absolutely, as they said, she will not stay at home. She will always go with them. She had her big black valise that looked like the head of a hippopotamus. To describe this as a hippo, and hippopotamus, you know, in one corner. And, you know, it's really an amazing thing, really. The way they describe her, or the narrator describes her, really here in a funny way, that she's an amazing old woman, that she's absolutely, you know, in control of everything. I don't know, really. I don't know, because because maybe old people, I don't know, when they grow old, they become funny, they become domineering. I don't know. They think that their children always will be children. I don't know. She didn't intend for the cat to be left alone in the house for 3 days because he would miss her too much, and she was afraid he might brush against one of the gas burners and accidentally asphyxiate himself. Her son Bailey didn't like to arrive at a motel with a cat. Again, the cat was the reason to have the accident, because the cat jumped out of the basket and jumped at Bailey's shoulders while he was driving. So he was snapped, if you like, or he was startled, and then he swerved, and then they fell into the ditch. So the accident was directly because of the cat. So notice here, the grandmother was the source of changing the road, changing the direction, and she brought the cat to cause the accident, blah, 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 blah. So here it seems that she is really, in a way, she is the cause of all this disaster. We will see. Notice, she sat in the middle of the back seat with John Wesley and June Starr on either side of her. Bailey and the children mother and the baby sat in the front, and they left Atlanta at 8:45 with the mileage on the car with 55, mentioning the exact, mileage. Again, the details really here, to some extent, is leading to the old, story that she led them to disaster. Notice, it took them 20 minutes to reach the outskirts of the city. The old lady settled herself comfortably, removing her white cotton gloves and putting them up with her purse on the shelf in front of the back window. The children's mother still had on slacks and still had her head tied up in a green kerchief. But the grandmother had on a navy blue straw sailor hat with a bunch of white violets on the brim, and a navy blue dress with a small white dot in the print. Her collar and cuffs were white organdy trimmed with lace, and at her neckline she had pinned a purple spray of cloth violets containing a sachet. Look at this. Look at this. She is wearing, completely decorated, as if she's going to a wedding or something. As if she's going to a wedding. What a funny old woman. In case of an accident, and this is again another hint, notice how many times we have, hints for what's going to happen. There are so many hints and so many clues in the story that that's what's going to happen, that they are going to have an accident and get killed. Anyone seeing her head on the highway would know at once that she was a lady. Wow. So she cares so much about class that she wants to be seen as a lady, wearing a hat with a lot of flowers, with a lot of, all these violets, all this, amazing decorations all over her body. Really the narrator is laughing at her. Really, the writer is mocking her. Notice here, she said she thought it was going to be a good day for driving, neither too hot nor too cold. And she cautioned Bailey that the speed limit was 55 miles an hour and that the patrolmen hid themselves behind billboards and small clumps of trees. Really, this is funny. because sometimes, yeah, sometimes that's what happens with the traffic police. Sometimes they do this, you know, they just appear in front of you and they, you know, give you a ticket. And this is really what she's saying to him: don't speed. Notice she asked him to slow down. She pointed out interesting details of the scenery. Stone Mountain, the blue granite that in small places came up to both sides of the highway. Anyway, really the story goes on and on in a lovely way. And then she decided to ask them that they wanted to go to take a leave, you know, just to take the direction to see a sort of nice place, like a museum or like an old house or like a monument or something. So she wanted them to go and see it. Notice here, let's go through Georgia fast so we won't have to look at it much, John Wesley said. Again, this is racial. They don't want to see Georgia much. And look what the mother said. If I were a little boy, said the grandmother, I wouldn't talk about my native state that way. Tennessee has the mountains and Georgia has the hills. You know, remember Georgia and the South, mostly the South, Georgia and Virginia and all these areas, and the Mississippi and all the southern from Florida to Texas, all these areas, really in a way, they were the place of the plantations and the slaves in general. So that's why, you know, she's talking about this question about that is their land. And here the grandmother is angry with the young boy, saying, we don't want to see the place. And she said to him, you are a terrible boy. You should be proud of your native state. Tennessee is just a hilly-billy dumping ground, John Wesley said. You know, saying hilly-billy dumping ground, as if to say it's a terrible thing. Why do you say, what do you think? And Georgia is a lousy state too, you know? So remember, this is supposedly to be the working class, mostly Black African origin of the whole area. And John Wesley didn't think, you know, or didn't like, let's say, his background, if you like, here about being Black or something. You said it, June Star. In my time, said the grandmother, folding her thin vined fingers, children were more respectful of their native states and their parents and everything else. Yeah. So here we say the grandmother is blaming her son and her daughter-in-law of not really bringing up their children in a decent way and in a respectful way, to respect their grandmother no matter what she said, and to respect their own parents and, you know, their own country and their own native country and so on. And she said, you know, these days children are terrible. People did right then. Oh, look at the cute little pickaninny, she said, and pointed to a Negro child standing at the door of a shack. Wouldn't that make a picture now? She asked, and they all turned and looked at the little Negro out of the back window. He waved. He didn't have any breeches on, said June Star. Again, really, it's funny. You know, they are looking and watching and maybe laughing and mocking all that. Anyway, really, you can look at this and read that quickly, because, you know, I'm not going really, I can't read everything. Please read every line in this story, because it's, as you can see, is quite interesting how they fell into the ditch and how they got caught later on by, you know, the misfit. And in the way also they met here on a station called Red Sammy. And it's like a restaurant on the road, you know, like a bus station or a petrol station, an oil petrol station with, you know, pumps and restaurants and maybe sleeping quarters and so on. So they stopped there for a little while, and they called Red Sammy's famous barbecue, none like famous Red Sammy's Red Sam, the fat boy with the happy laugh, a veteran, Red Sammy, your man. You know, this is the advert for the place, being inviting people to come to his place. And here you can see more about this situation and the comparison to some extent about, you know, past and present and the business world and so on. And really, this is a very interesting thing. Before they go on and they drive on, before they got the, you know, the accident. Let me check to see. I want to check something here before I forget, because I don't know how many weeks did I, or how many lectures did I give this? Just maybe 1 week, because I want to stick to it. Yeah, just, yeah, this week, just this week, okay. So really, I'm saying here that the idea is again related to working class people, the really miserably working class people, how they have to work very, very hard in order to earn their living. And you can see here this being explained in this section. Notice, "Ain't she cute?" Red Sam's wife said, leaning over the counter. Would you like to come be my little girl?" "No, I certainly wouldn't," June Star said. "I wouldn't live in a broken down place like this for $1 million. And she ran back to the table. Again, notice the arrogance here. Again, I think the boy and the girl, his sister, in a way, they represent this, if you like, strange child, maybe strange child relationship to things, to reality, and to their parents, and so on. Notice, and she ran back to the table. "Ain't she cute?" the woman repeated, stretching her mouth politely. "Ain't you ashamed?" hissed the grandmother. Notice the contrast about how they talk and they describe each other in this way, really in a very funny, really amazing fashion. Anyway, they had their food and they stayed for some time, and then they wanted to move back again to continue their journey. You know, here, of course, some kind of conversation started between this, you know, owner and by the grandmother in a really revealing fashion here. Notice, people are certainly not nice like they used to be, said the grandmother. "Two fellers came in here last week," Red Sam said. Again, he's agreeing with her or testifying to her to say, well, what can we really do? It can't be helped. Anyway, I think I will stop here and I will continue next time because I think that's it. Next week or next meeting, I'm going to finish this and